right, welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche podcast on a Saturday. Bringing it to you here on the weekend. This was originally going to be a bonus pod, but then the parade happened and everyone got drunk and exhausted and everything, so we just had to push it. I'm here with a very special guest, old friend of the pod, the former host of this very podcast, JJ Jerez. JJ. We're here. We were in Tampa. We drunkenly talked about doing shows together all summer. And so I was like, yeah, screw it. We'll do one here. Give the rest of the DNVR crew the day off, and you and I can hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm here to do. Talk about it, right? Usually on Saturdays, I have my own show. My co-host there, he came down with an illness, the common illness everybody's been getting the last couple of years, right?
I think I've heard of. Yeah, I think I heard people getting
something with a V or
something. I'm not really sure.
But yeah, so I've been itching to talk about this, right? I mean, the last week I've spent just sleeping, catching up on all the hours we missed. I mean, Jesse, you and I had ourselves the night of the Stanley Cup night. Didn't sleep a wink. So yeah, just spent the whole week thinking about what happened, processing it all, right? And it's just been still hard to really believe. I mean, the videos help. Seeing the players, watching McDermott fall over with the cup in his hand. It's setting in now. But like you said, everybody was drinking, everybody was getting drunk. And how crazy is it that EJ pointed out that they were looking for a bar, right, and couldn't find one that had alcohol anymore? That Denver drank this town dry. So good for you guys. Good for Denver,
dude. Well, so you and I were in Tampa, obviously the night they won. So we weren't in Denver. We didn't see what all went down. You know what? Obviously, I saw pictures and stuff of what it was like out in the streets and stuff like that. But I didn't have a full grasp of just how crazy it was.
Well, dude, it was a Sunday.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah.
So for the town of Denver to go out there and get crazy on a Sunday night when most people probably had work the next morning, I mean, that's the kind of effort that wins championships.
Yeah. No excuses. Everyone was prepared for the moment, just the way Jared Bednar talked about all year.
Play to your identity, Denver. They did just that,
and they did it. Sorry, I just saw someone saying that we were a little softened. I've never been told that I'm too quiet, but hopefully that helps. But yeah, man. So I thought you'd come on over. We have the studio being remodeled, so I rearranged things here in my little makeshift studio at home. Thought we could talk about all of that stuff, just everything. Our time in Tampa, what's kind of happened since. The Avs are still on going on a week-long bender here. Don't look like they're showing any signs of slowing down. And we'll get a little bit into off-season stuff and next season. But you and I also talked about when we were out there, you are a much better driver of the show than I am. This used to be your show that you drove, so I'll let you kind of take over.
All right, yeah. AJ and I, we had a magic together back in the day, and a lot of people miss us. And yeah, that's kind of my role here in Denver. I'm a podcast host, right? I'm not so much the expert guy, so I'll do it. I mean, I guess a good place for us to start, Jesse, is talking about that off day we had in Tampa Bay, right? Yep. We'll get into the X's and O's, we'll get into the games, but that off day that we had in Tampa was one of the more memorable experiences I think either you or I will ever live through. Right. I guess I don't know. How do you want to break that down? Do you want to go step by step on what our day was like that day? Because there's a lot that happened. Right.
Dude, there was a ton. I mean, it's one of those things where I've been talking to folks, just obviously we were in a very cool situation, right? Very lucky to be out there. And I've been talking to people about that night. Yeah. Before even the cup night and all that stuff and the night they win, all the celebrations. And recounting the night that you're talking about, it was the off day, right?
Right.
Yeah. The off day in Tampa. The more I tell people about it, I'm like, this is crazy. It's crazy every time I bring it up.
We literally lived an NHL fairy tale, right? And I guess let's start. It all started from practice, which was kind of a whatever practice from the Avs, right? Just kind of get it out of the way. Let's get a power play. Let's get a penalty kill, and we're off. So from there, we were like, hey, seems like we got an off day here. We started drinking, right? You walk about a block and a half from Amalie Arena, which is where practice was.
So I was just making sure we're all dialed in here. Well, so that was the other thing too that I've been telling a lot of people was the area around Amalie Arena. Beautiful. Dude,
it's unmatched.
Fantastic.
The way I keep explaining it to people is it's like Coors Field. It's the Tampa Bay equivalent of Lodo, right? Because it's right there in a poppin' little area. It's almost more like DTC, right? Because it was like a downtown, but nowhere near as busy as a downtown. We almost had this little NHL bubble going on, right? Because
everyone was in those 3 hotels right there.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that was our day. We went to practice. We left about a block and a half. Just went and had some mojitos down by the Riverwalk.
I'm already thinking about
minding our own business. That's what you and I's MO was. We were minding our own business throughout the day, and suddenly the altitude team comes and joins us. Right. So there we're getting some beverages with Mosier, with McGahey, with the Jesse Trujillo.
Right.
And then again, just keep minding our day. They went and did their own thing. We went and did our own thing. Next bar we're at, Jared Bednar and the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wow. Okay. Hey, guys, what's going on? We're going to go over here and do our thing. We watched the NHL award show from there. And neither of us expecting Cale Makar to win. So we're like,
I was trying to be optimistic about it. Like when everyone was around, I was like, oh, I think he'll win. But we all thought it was Yossi.
Yeah, part of it was wishful thinking for me. Like, if Yossi wins, we could stay here, keep drinking our mojitos.
Yeah.
But no, Cale Makar wins, so we got to sprint over back to Amalie Arena. We get there just in the nick of time, catch some Cale Makar interview, get some content out of there, and we're back out. We're back on the streets.
Yep.
It gets hazy for me a little bit there.
Well, and again, so this was the other part of it that was so fun was, we watch him win. And because we had all the schedules and all that stuff, the area around the arena was it was such a good area that like we never got in an Uber, we never got in a scooter. It was all just like, cool, bounce from here, go here, check this out, go back to the arena, wait for Cale, all that stuff. And then, like you said, then right back out, got everything that we needed to. Dude, it was perfect.
Right. It sounds like Lodo to me. Yeah, that's the same way you would explain Lodo. I did spend a lot of time on Lime scooters, but in the Florida weather on a Lime scooter, there's not much better you can do.
Once the sun went, so right around all the time that this stuff is happening with Cale, the sun starts going down, and that's when it's just like perfect, dude.
Right.
I know people hate the humidity and all that stuff in Florida. Perfect.
It was perfect. It was very tolerable. Next thing you know, we're sitting at the same bar we started at, right next to the river. And again, just minding our own business. And the Greg Wyshynski comes and sits with us.
Yeah.
And almost gives us a private little 20, 30-minute podcast, right? We talk hockey for about 10 minutes, and then we talk travel and culture. And it's like, this is just the most Greg Wyshynski conversation on the planet.
Well, and dude, it was fun because I brought up the Bland thing to him. Mm-hmm. I said, look, I was like, how much have people actually been in your DMs, in your mentions, saying, just giving you a hard time for the Bland thing. And like, I know people want to dunk on him. And like, we've even talked about him, on the show and stuff. And he's like a really good sport about it. He's like, yeah, they were all over me for it. Didn't try to like go out of his way to like, oh, this is what I meant. This is what blah, blah, blah. Laughed about it. He's like, I said what I said. People took it a different way, and people are going to take stuff a different way. And it's fine.
It was pretty much awesome. It was pretty much that game 2 game, right? The one here in Denver, where I was like, I think I get it. Because the Avalanche, if you remember that first period, they came out buzzing.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay came back into the game, and eventually it went to overtime. Avs win.
Yep.
But I got it that day. That's when I was like, this is a Bland team. Because I'm sitting there. It's the Stanley Cup final. And it's towards the end of the first period. I'm like, is this over? Is this series over? Like, I'm half asleep in this playoff setting. Like, how is this so boring? How is this so bland? I got it. I understood the Bland comment for sure.
And even was Cale's shorty the 7th goal in that game too? Or no, I'm sorry. It was the Cale power play goal in game 2 where like they scored, and it's Stanley Cup final, and there's not a celebration from the guys on the ice.
His second goal of the night, right?
Just casual fist bumps. Cool. Let's get out of here.
We don't want to blow him out here. Let's be good sports. And it's like, this is the final.
Yeah.
This is not the way it's supposed to be going.
And I guess the fun part about it now in retrospect is like, the Bland is, I think, part of what made them so good. And I think maybe that was even his point. Like, they're so good, it's boring to watch at times.
Well, I was thinking about this today because on NHL Network, they're kind of replaying every elimination game from the Avs run.
Yeah. And
in thinking about it, you saw so much production from the trade deadline guys, right? I mean, they were pivotal in these playoffs. And going back to the trade deadline or even pre-trade deadline, the Avalanche were killing it, right? They had that amazing January, and you're sitting here thinking, what does this team even need to be better? There's not much this team could even do at the trade deadline to really put themselves over the bar, because they're already over that bar. They're already a head taller than everybody else in the league. But then they make those acquisitions, and lo and behold, come playoff time, those were some of the biggest goals of the playoffs, right? You had Arturi Lehkonen really, really chipping in, really making an impact. Cogliano's impact. I mean, we've already heard from the locker room itself saying how much he brought to that room.
He's the one that calls the meeting the night before Game 6. Like, it wasn't like, oh, he spoke up at the meeting. No, this was Andrew Cogliano wanted to get the team together. And for someone to feel that comfortable in the room after, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe. I don't even remember. Time is not a thing to me anymore. I have no idea what day, week, month, anything it is. But yeah, for the role that he played, given when he came in, just you can't put a value on it.
Yeah, and you saw that. I mean, even in guys like, I know Kadri's been here for a while, but that was a hands down Joe Sakic move, right?
Yep.
Maybe even Val Nichushkin definitely had some big goals there throughout the playoffs. I mean, none of those guys were the core. It almost felt like through that playoff run, the core guys were leading the way, and the newer guys were finishing the way, right?
No, dude, that's a great way of putting it. The established stars were the ones starting it, but you needed all those new guys, however you want to describe them, to kind of put it all together and just put everything together at the end. You haven't even mentioned Josh Manson.
Yeah.
Who overtime winner, big goal in game 2 at the, or was it game 2 of this series?
It all blends.
It all blends together. But, just either way, I mean, just big goal after big goal after big goal. Andrew Cogliano, granted, they both came in blowouts, 2 game-winning goals in the playoffs.
But you can't argue his impact on the penalty kill.
Oh, my. Well, and, bro, just the fact that this guy breaks his hand, gets surgery on it, comes back, and is diving in front of pucks his first shift back. Like, you and I talked about this, like, you expect sometimes when guys get hurt like that to be a little bit tentative getting in front of a puck, be a little tentative going into the corner, be a little tentative going to the front of the net. And that wasn't the case at all for Andrew Cogliano. He jumped right back in and played the way that he played consistently from his first shift back. Just unbelievable, dude.
Yeah. And again, back to Manson, right? The physical presence that I think he brought was something I don't think we thought we needed here in Denver until he was here, right? Yeah. And it was like, oh, okay, I didn't see them making a move like this, but now that he's here, I love it.
Yeah.
Right. I remember the moment, what was it, Nashville, where somebody tries to go after Kadri, right? And Kadri just tries to kind of skate away, and Manson's like, I got this.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it. So you had Manson contributing in a completely different way than the other guys. And while Nico Sturm wasn't amazing, he wasn't the most perfect acquisition pickup, he played a lot of games, and he put in a lot of time to not only get better, but just do what he could to improve the team from that fourth line role, right? I was always amazed. He's like one of the last guys on the ice at morning skate every single day, almost to the point where we're always trying to guess, is he a scratch? Is he not a scratch? Right. But no, he wasn't scratched. He was just out there putting in work. I mean, I loved when I would see him work on the faceoffs. He turns his stick upside down and tries to win faceoffs with just the knob of his stick.
Oh, really? I never noticed.
Yeah, I saw him do that a few times. Like, that's the kind of detail that he worked on in his morning skates and his practices that I thought ultimately made him an amazing piece.
Yeah. Well, and so it's so funny because we talked to Jared a lot about the guys that were scratches, because that was the other thing with Joe Sakic bringing in all these guys. Like you said, when the roster was fully healthy, really a lot of these guys just kind of looked like kind of gravy, right? Like, well, you don't really need Josh Manson. You don't really need Arturi Lehkonen, but these guys just fit in so well. They're great depth pieces. And so we talked to Jared Bennett at the start of the playoffs of, what are you looking for out of these guys that are healthy scratches that aren't necessarily getting in the lineup every night? And he said, we need everybody to be ready when their number is called, because when their number is called, we're going to need them to play a big role. And to your point about Sturm, he didn't play a lot. Was he stellar? Maybe not. But he makes the big play, and yes, it goes off Andrew Cogliano, but he makes the huge play to get the game tied in game 4 to set them up for Nazem Kadri to have the OT winner that everyone will remember. It'll go down an Avalanche legend now, the Kadri OT winner. That doesn't get close to happen if Nico Sturm isn't going to the net, gets a stick on the puck, and chips it back into the net. And again, it goes off Cogliano, but it's a wide open net. It's going in. That's Sturm making the play. And when he needed to, when his number was called, he was ready.
That's exactly what he was brought in to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a Tyson Jost for Nico Sturm, essentially, 1-for-1. And when they brought in Sturm, I remember Jared Bednar sitting there and saying, we like his size. We like what he's going to be able to do in the defensive end versus some other centers that might have been there, some smaller centers, right? He basically said he's better than Tyson Jost without saying he's better than Tyson Jost. Yeah. He kind of hinted at it. And yeah, that's exactly what you saw. So I loved the way that those guys contributed. And back to your point about Cogliano, right? I mean, having that pregame speech, having the boys ready to go, and that fire that he was playing with, that I don't give a shoot fire. I guess that's just a testament to that classic NHL mentality of you don't know when you're going to be back. I mean, obviously he's probably not going to be back. Who knows how much longer his career is even going to last, but he's like, this is my one and only chance possibly. Right. There's a good chance I'm never here again. I haven't been here in the past. So you saw that in him, right? And that's where
took me this long to get here. I'm not going to waste it.
Right, exactly. I'm going to do everything I can to win this. And I thought that was awesome for guys like Bowen Byram, Alex Newhook, the younger group, to see something like that, because of course you look at Tyler Seguin, right? He's the poster boy of this. You get there early, you win it, you might never even be there again. So they see what it takes to not only get there, but what you got to do to win it once you're there.
Yeah, and it's not just and this is the part, man, that you and I talked about a bunch in Tampa. Just the level of appreciation that this playoff run gave me for what it is that these guys go through. And it's not just, obviously this kind of goes without saying, it's not just your raw ability and your raw skill. It's the work, and it's the flights and the travel and the sacrifice and the time you're away from your family, and the countless nights that those guys spend in hotel rooms. And you go into some of these cities. Tampa was an awesome city. There was a lot to kind of go out and see and do. But, this isn't like, I'm not like trying to take shots at Edmonton or St. Louis and stuff, but just where those arenas and stuff were situated, there wasn't really a ton of options. So like you are like in this little hockey bubble, like how you described it earlier. And so, these players, they go out on the road in some of these playoff series, and it's like, yeah, well, we can go to the hotel bar, or we can go to the restaurant across the street, or the hotel bar. Or we can go back to that restaurant across the street. And it's like, this is a grind. The war of attrition thing is not an exaggeration. It's not a cliche. Like, it's just as much mental to get this far as it is physical. And I think you're right. Like, I think it was great for guys like Bowen Byram and Alex Newhook. And even to a lesser extent, Cale Makar and guys in that age range, where it's like, to see a guy like Andrew Cogliano give everything to do this once. And it's like, are you willing to do this every year to get here? And to set that example, I think is invaluable. Now, obviously these are young guys. We'll see what happens with Newhook. Does he become the 2C? Do they strap Byram next to Makar and that become, the ultimate kind of top pair? We don't know where these guys are going to go, but to get that taste of this is the level of sacrifice that guys put in to get here. It's not just about being good. It's not just about having the hardest shot and being the fastest skater on the ice. You have to be willing to put in all this work and do all this. And it's why I think you and I were talking, before, that I really do. I feel like now that this group has gotten here once, they've got the makings to do it 2, maybe 3 more times. It's tough. It's really tough to do, but I think this group will get a couple more kicks at the can because they've seen what it takes to get there. And now they've felt the payoff. They're currently feeling the payoff. I'm sure they're feeling it right now at 1:30 on a Saturday, somewhere in Denver. But they understand now. And I think there's a reason Tampa's been there 3 years in a row.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you. Well, first, you remind me of Jared Bednar and his parade speech, right? Thank you for not crying there during it. But these guys sacrifice so much, and their wives sacrifice a lot. But he's right. But yeah, with your point to
Did you see
Tampa,
Bo laughing behind him because his voice was
he
kept cracking and stuff like this.
He shouldn't have fought it. Don't fight it. Just let it go.
Let it go.
Because he was trying to fight it that he got squeaky. But no, going to Tampa, obviously Florida's Florida, right? People vacation there for a reason. So when the series was either up in the air or MSG, going to New York City or going to Tampa Bay, I had my fingers crossed. Like, come on, Tampa.
Yeah.
It lived up to the expectation. But yeah, to my question to you was, after all the heartbreak that we've seen the last couple years, right? And it seemed like it was all part of the process, right? They were learning how to win in the playoffs. They were figuring it out. Now they got it done.
Yep.
Do you think now that because of that knowledge, they will be better equipped? I mean, they always had good teams, but there was something missing. And it was perhaps that experience of what do you actually need to do to get it done? Do you think now they're better set up to make some more runs at it?
I do. And I think a lot of that comes from something that Cale Makar said after they won, after they won the Stanley Cup, and he's up there with his brother in the Conn Smythe Trophy. My favorite part about it is he's got the Conn Smythe Trophy there. Like, he won, and they won the cup. It's done. Everything's accomplished. And someone asked him about the Conn Smythe, and he was like, he even like halfway, he's like, oh, I don't care about this.
Well, when he accepted the award, he went straight to the bench. He was like, here you guys go.
Yeah. Take this. Not worried about it. But he talked about game 5 of round 2 against St. Louis and how them losing that game. And it was something that we talked about on our show. And I think I've even talked about with you just around the rink and stuff, that game 5 to me was cool. This is the last lesson. We took our eyes off the prize for 10 minutes. We looked past our opponent for 10 minutes and it cost us a game. And we had to suddenly refocus and get back on the plane and go back to St. Louis. And it reminded me of the Vegas series. They blow Vegas out 7-0 game 1 last year. And then they don't play a good game and they still find a way to get a win. And to me, it just became they looked past the opponent. Woof. All right. We got this. We're up 2-0. They're not going to beat us 4 times in a row. We got it. And Vegas made them pay. And it looked like they had learned the lesson. And then game 5 against St. Louis, they did it again. And when they refocused and came back and won game 6 the way they did, I said, okay, they get it now. They understand. And it's part of the reason why, Tampa, they won game 5, but Tampa had to lay everything out to win game 5. They didn't get any freebies from the Avs. People will talk about Kemper, giving up a couple goals in that game that you don't like, but the Avs didn't give anything away in that game 5. Really, it never felt like they let Tampa up off the mat. You know what I mean? Tampa felt like they were having to scratch and claw. The Avs never really looked overwhelmed by the moment. And I think a lot of that came from it being the turning point in round 2. And so there's a very long-winded way of answering your question and saying, yeah, I do think so. I think they are more well-equipped for it now. I think they get it. I think they understand what you have to do, what it takes, and the mindset. That was the thing that impressed me about this team throughout this whole postseason more than anything else. Right up until that, Jared Bednar told us after the guy started celebrating on the bench with 7 seconds left because the puck was pinned in the far corner. And he said, I was sitting there and thinking, why are you guys celebrating? There's 7 seconds left. This dude was 7 seconds away and couldn't bring himself to break out of that mindset. And it was infectious throughout the team. And I think they get that now. And I think they understand the mindset more than anything.
I'm 100% with that. I think the mindset was everything for this team this year. Just keeping that even keel. You heard it a million times. It was reminiscent of the Patrick Waugh days, right? He loved to say the words even keel. It was even to the point where once they beat Edmonton, and they creamed Edmonton, that series was never even a contest. It almost felt like they were trying so hard to keep that even keel mindset. And somebody, whether it was Bednar or somebody else, said, guys, let's take a break. Let's enjoy this.
Yeah.
And then you started hearing Nathan McKinnon be like, oh, we want to enjoy this. We want to enjoy this. You heard it from a couple other guys. And they took a small step back from that even keel mindset, but they were able to snap it right back on, right? I mean, it was amazing to me. Even throughout the regular season, you saw it. Nathan McKinnon, right? He was polar opposite of what we're used to seeing from Nathan McKinnon all year long. He loses. He wasn't pissy about it. He wasn't, throwing a sour face all night long. He was positive about it. He put it behind him and he moved on. And I think just him right there is the epitome of what the entire mindset of the team was all year long. You heard it from Bednar a million times about keeping that mindset too.
Yeah.
I see a ton of people in the chat talking about free agents, and what we're going to get that.
We are going to get
this
to
episode.
That. Yep.
But I guess right now is a great time to talk about our friends over at DraftKings and Sexy Pizza.
Nailed it. See, look at this. He's here one day and he's already way better at this than I am. Yeah, so we are going to talk about our great friends over at DraftKings. This is the DNVR Avalanche podcast brought to you by DraftKings. And we are talking UFC today. This is one of the things I love about our partners at DraftKings. Our ad reads are always changing because they're running new promos, new specials every single week. We've actually only got this one for another day, and then they've got something new rolling out for the 4th of July. But we are talking UFC. There's tons of ways to come out on top in the octagon. And for UFC 276, there's one more with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the UFC. New customers can bet $5 on any fighter to win and get $100 in free bets, win or lose. So that's $5 on any fighter, and you get $100 in free bets, win or lose. Pick a fighter. No matter what, you win. With DraftKings same game parlays, you can turn another small bet into a big payday, combine multiple bets like which fighter will win, number of knockouts, and more. For UFC 276, you can place a same game parlay. If it hits, you will win double. Head on over to DraftKings.com/sportsbook or download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR. Bet just $5 on any UFC fighter to win. Get $100 in free bets no matter what. That is code DNVR. Saturday, that's tonight, at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the UFC. We are also brought to you guys. I'm so sorry. Thank you, y'all here. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR. All new users can sign up, get a bonus bonus up to $1,000. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Also want to remind you guys about our great friends over at Sexy Pizza. With 13 years in the Denver community, Sexy Pizza is as local as it gets. We were having them all year long, or all playoffs long, at our watch parties. They were the hit of the watch party every single night. Hand-tossed pizza, made from scratch. Seriously, I talk to you guys about this all the time. When I lived downtown, walking over to the Sexy Pizza window was a staple for us. It's right there over near the ballpark, but they have several locations now, 4 Denver locations, now that the new one in Trinidad just opened. Cap Hill, Old South Pearl, and Jefferson Park. Head on over to sexypizza.com, Sexy Pizza or sexypizza.com. Support your organization or event, www.sexypizza.com or www.sexy.pizza, and check out their about page for donation links. See how Sexy Pizza can support your cause. 12, 16, or 18-inch crust. Seriously, just head on over to Sexy Pizza. I can read through this ad. They have a bunch of bullet points in there, but the bottom line is it's amazing. It's delicious. It's right there downtown near the ballpark. So head on over to Sexy Pizza and see our good friends over there.
Big fan of Sexy Pizza. Big fan of DraftKings. I don't know if you hopped on any action during those playoffs, but heading into the final 2 games, that's when I was like, all right, Cale Makar's a lock, right? You and I were still in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And I pull it up, and at that time, it was a -150.
Yes,
a lock for the Conn Smythe, of course.
Yep.
And it was a -150, but unfortunately, we were in Florida, and I couldn't make a bet.
Damn,
and I was sitting there saying, I'm going to put every dollar in my account on this, and it wasn't until we got back to Denver. By then, it was already a -300. I still put every dollar on my account. Yeah. On him winning the Conn Smythe, but yeah, that was a fun one. I mean, I love DraftKings. I love them,
dude. I had one that I had put getting near the end of the season, and I actually misread what it was. I thought it was for the Avs to win the Western Conference in the regular season, and it was like +150 odds. I was like, that's an easy 50. Like, I'll put $50 on that, no problem. Well, it was actually for them to be the team to come out of the West to go to the Cup final. So I'd completely forgotten about it. So I logged into my DraftKings right after the final had started. I was like, okay, all right. Yahir, do you want to pull that super chat up just so that we can get to it right away? $5 from Miss Truly. Love the stories. Your Tampa fairy tale sounds awesome. Yes, it seems like the Avs learned the champion mindset this year. Blues loss was the turning point. Thank you, Miss Truly. You are always absolutely awesome. But no, turning point was the word that Cale Makar used. That was the turning point in our playoffs. He said that they weren't going to be denied after that.
Yeah, as far as the fairy tale goes, I mean, we only told you the half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as the Blues, it was crazy to me by the time the Tampa series rolled up and the Avs were already up 2-0, that you look back and you're like, is St. Louis really going to be the toughest series of this whole run?
Right.
And it was, but I guess it's not surprising because the way the format is, it feels like that second round is a heavier round, which is why the Avalanche have had such a hard time getting out of it, because what today's second round is probably more of a third round back in the day with the old format.
That's a great point.
So St. Louis, they were just a good team. I mean, there was never any fear in my body that the Avs were going to have a tough time considering what they did to them last year in the sweep. But I mean, that one was just a fun series. That's the most memorable part. That's what I wanted to get into here for this portion of the show, where memorable moments from the run. And I think the number one memorable moment for me, and sorry to start with number one and work our way down, was in that St. Louis series when Nazem Kadri comes back that first game, scores the goal, and goes to the crowd and gives them a little, what was that? Let me hear you now. I think that for sure was my favorite moment of the playoffs. But yeah, it was all from that Blues series, the intensity, the storylines, the water bottle incident. And I mean, that series was just so much fun.
Well, dude, so you know, the hand to the ear thing, it was so funny because when he scored, I remember the first thought that came to my mind was like, damn, that must feel good. And then he does the hand to the ear, and they got a close-up on him in the arena. They showed, you know, kind of a close-up of him celebrating. And just the look in his eye, I was like, oh, this dude's not done. Like that one gave him some energy, and I was like, he's not done tonight. That was it's funny, man. You bring up a good point. Like when I'm assuming they still do the video, like the championship video and all that stuff. Like I wore out my 2001 VHS copy. Yeah. So I'm assuming that they'll do that again. But like,
how? I don't even have a DVD.
Can I download it?
Yeah.
Can I get that off Apple TV?
100%.
But you know, man, like you sit there and it's like, what is going to be the moment? There were so many, you know, throughout these playoffs where you say, wow, what a huge moment. The Frankie shutout, you know, against Edmonton. All the talk was, how are the Avs going to be able to contain Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl? Do they have the goaltending? Do they have the defense? And then Darcy Kemper goes down and Pavel Francouz comes in and pitches a shutout in his first game, in his first start of the conference final. You have the Nazem Kadri, you know, going off in game 4 and then coming back home and having the incredible support, you know, for the whole stand with Naz that was coordinated by Adrian at Guffey Chan, who also did the Too Many Men shirts for the parade,
which were a hit, by the way,
dude.
Way
huge.
to go on that.
Seriously, blew it out. And I last I saw, they were up over 40,000 in donations to the Kadri Foundation. Yeah,
what an idea.
So seriously, so good on Avs fans, and also do give a shout out. There was a Bolts Lightning fan page that pumped it out. They were like, hey, look, it's all you know, competition, all that stuff, but this is a great cause.
I loved their idea too of donating $6 for every person that was on the ice.
I thought that was great.
You would have had to donate $7 for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I would say so. Yeah, they should have actually done $13, one for every player that was on the ice.
Right.
But you know, dude, so there were so many. I'm with you. The Kadri. I also loved that game when he scored the third one. He took, you know, my motioned like he took a hat off and threw it. Just that whole game was incredible. The Josh Manson save.
Yep.
I'm not really like labeling these. I guess I'm not like numbering these here, but just kind of like rattling off. I mean, like, honestly, man, there were so many moments that were incredible.
Yeah, and I think Nazem Kadri was the root of a lot of them,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he had an amazing year. I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one, but after the great regular season that he had, coming into the playoffs, I was thinking, there's no way he's going to have as big of a playoffs as he had regular season. And he did. He had perhaps even bigger. I mean, maybe not that many. He only had 15 points, right, after 87 in the regular season. But the clutch moments. Right. And even with the broken hand, that little muffin goal that he got past Vasilevsky in overtime, I mean, it was historic. It was storybook. I mean, seriously. Right? It was straight out of a movie. And, everything that he brought to the table was awesome. And we'll probably get to a next segment, but it's going to break my heart when we don't see him in an Avalanche sweater next year.
So, is it right? If it's all right with you, I'm going to take a little detour to Vasilevsky. How do you say? I say Vasilevsky. I was always told it was Vasilevsky.
Who told you that? AJ?
No,
I feel like that's a very AJ thing.
We were both told that by who was it? I think it was some dude in Arizona.
I mean, my take on it is, as Americans, we rarely say any of these people's names anyway. So just say what you want. I mean, it's like my last name. Nobody can say my last name.
How is it?
You really want to get into this? Well, my family from Spain.
Yeah.
Right? Jerez is pronounced Jerez.
Really?
Jerez.
All right. Well, now I feel I even introduced. I feel like a dick.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody can say it. So it's just like, say whatever you want. Just say it. Vasilevsky is how I say it. But who cares?
Have you watched any of the Quest for the Cup?
I just dug into them yesterday, watched the first two.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you, obviously it's not like too much of a spoiler, but I'm going to tell you something that he said going through the line, because they've got a bunch of these guys mic'd up, and I always do find it interesting, especially for a cup final. What are these guys saying to each other going through the line? Because especially once you've gotten to that point, I remember so clearly in 2001, the Devils were the defending champs, lost to the Avs. And I think it was Scott Stevens going through the line, or maybe it was Jason Arnott, and telling Ray Bourque, hey, man, you deserve it. Enjoy it. And it was one of those things that, as heartbroken as they were, they understood the feeling and they understood what those guys were going through. And were able to tell them enjoy it. And so I really wanted to know what it was the Bolts players said, because they had just won it twice, right? And they're going through, and Vasi gets to Bednar, and Bednar told him, like, dude, unbelievable season, unbelievable series. And Vasi tells him, he said, that team was too good for me. Congratulations, enjoy it. And he had a big smile on his face. And I thought that was such an interesting thing to hear. What I don't even think is just my opinion. I think it's pretty consensus. That's the best goalie on earth right now. If his career continues this way, has potential to be the best goalie of all time. And for him to say, like, look, man, kind of acknowledge, like, I've dragged this team to a lot of wins. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it against this team.
He was a peculiar part about the whole series, right? Because you were expecting them to have one of those Vasilevsky nights, and he never really had one. He had some leaky goals, which were uncharacteristic of him. And not that he played poorly by any means, but I don't think he played to the Vezina / Conn Smythe winner that we've seen in the past. Is that something that he was dealing with, or is that because of the firepower he was facing? I don't know. But either way, the Avalanche were able to expose him. And that's what made this offense so amazing, is that even a guy that we're all expecting to steal at least a game was never able to. Yeah. And they always got one past him, if not more.
Well, and what's funny is for all the hard time that people gave Darcy about soft goals, and there were some, I'm not going to say that there weren't. But like Vasilevsky had some leaky ones. He had some beaten that it's like, dude, come on. And that was why I thought his comment there to Bednar of this, they were too good for me. And obviously, he said it with a smile on his face and stuff like that. But I thought it was an interesting comment, because to me, it did kind of strike as like, I couldn't steal one. There was too much firepower, even for a goalie of his caliber. A lot of the conversation going into the series was, oh, well, the Avs haven't had to play a goalie like this yet. Well, he hadn't had to play a team like the Avs at any point in these playoff runs. They had played some good teams. And look, Vasilevsky still had a great series. Like his expected goals, his numbers, like all of that were still in a really good spot, and it just wasn't enough.
Well, looking back at the entire run, I wish I had these numbers in front of me. How many times did the Avs give up the first goal? Too many. Right?
Yeah.
Too many. And you'd think, wow, there's no way another Stanley Cup final winner went that many times giving up the first goal and still had that good of a winning percentage. And again, that's just another testament to how potent this offense was, because even if they go down 1-0, even against Vasilevsky, in which they did in that final game, you still had faith in the offense. You still had faith that they had the firepower to get it done and burn past them. I mean, their play through the neutral zone this entire playoffs, I think, was what really set them apart. So many teams, all their opponents were trying to slow them down and never were able to. And it led to some really good dangerous chances, and it led to chaos in the opponent's defensive zone. So, I mean, everybody was awesome during this run, but the offense that we saw this entire year, not just the playoffs, has to be one of the greatest goal-scoring offenses in the history of the NHL. Yeah,
seriously. And it was their speed with the puck, without the puck, their speed, like you said, through the neutral zone, their speed on the forecheck. John Cooper said, I believe it was on the off day, the travel day between games 2 and 3, where he said, like, look, we scouted these guys, and I'm paraphrasing here, obviously. Like, we scouted these guys, and they're a little bit faster than what we thought. Like, he's like, you watch the tape, you're like, okay, cool. You'll have a beat or two, 1, 2, 3 to look up, make that play. And he was essentially saying, like, look, we're grabbing this puck, looking up, and you're getting like 1 Mississippi. And that is all you are getting to make a decision on what to do with this puck. And the speed really, it was part of the reason why, like you were saying earlier, you were looking at this like, is this going to be done in 4? Are they going to sweep the Bolts? Because they looked completely overwhelmed by the speed up until game 3, where they really looked like they got somewhat of a handle on it. I just went back and looked. The Nashville game 4 in Nashville, the Avs scored first, but did trail in the third period. They gave up the first goal in the elimination game against St. Louis. They gave up the first goal in the elimination game against Edmonton, and they gave up the first goal in the cup clinching game against Tampa.
Wasn't it the St. Louis series where they gave up the first goal in every game?
I think it was every game except for game 5, which they lost. Yes, you are correct. And so, dude, it's just, again, this goes all the way back to what we talked about earlier, and just the mindset of never feeling like they were out of it, never feeling like, a lot of the national media really harped on the 5-minute segment things from Bednar. Mm-hmm. But like, really, I mean, it seems like that is part of what helped them. Hey, cool. We lost the first 5 minutes. Fuck. We'll win the next 5. Cool. We won those 5 minutes. Now we'll go win the next 5. And suddenly you get to the end of the game. You're like, well, we lost the first 5 minutes, and then we won every 5-minute segment after that, and we won the game. So we're good.
Yeah. I'm always interested in the conversations that happen between periods, right? Because I think that's really where teams are made or broken. And after every first period, when they're going down into those dressing rooms, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall and see what they're saying to keep each other up, to keep that confidence high. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be this guy. I asked this guy a question and this is what he said. But in the final, yes. I asked Gabe Landeskog. It was after game 2 when they went into overtime. And I'm like, look, the even keel mindset has been your guys' weapon all year long. But how do you stay even keel in the Stanley Cup final, overtime game, in the dressing room? What's being said? And he's just saying that we were just confident. Yeah. We knew that we had the ability to get it done. We trusted each other to go out there and take care of the job we were supposed to take, because that's such a Bednar message, right? Go out there and do your job. Don't do anything else. And it seems like they never had any doubt. And it's crazy because a lot of Avalanche fans had a ton of doubt throughout the entire playoffs. Right? I don't know how many times I saw, here comes another Vegas moment. Yep. But no, they were just confident in each other, and, probably super positive and just pumping each other's tires in those dressing rooms, making sure everybody was heading back on the ice with the right mindset.
Well, and that, I think, to me was what set this group apart from teams that we saw in the past. Was you're going to go through those moments. Another super chat here from Miss Truly. The Bolts looking like lost children in game 2. One of the best moments. There was a moment there with Vasi. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th goal, man, where he looked up, and again, like the camera zoomed in on him, and like he was just kind of looking around like, I don't know what to do. Like, these shots are coming from everywhere. They're coming from areas I'm not used to them being, and they're all going in. And like, it literally just looked, McGahey has the the line. They're drinking like they're drinking from a fountain. That's something Avalanche.
Like an avalanche coming down the mountain. It's a song, Jesse.
Yeah, well, I know, but I couldn't. I was trying to put it all together in my head real quick.
Mind the sun sometimes.
And like seriously, that they looked like they were drinking from a fire hose. Like, we're out here playing hockey, but we're just getting our heads kicked in. Like, they looked lost.
Like lost children.
Seriously.
100%. I mean, you don't win 7-0 in a Stanley Cup final and not have the utmost confidence in yourselves. And yeah, that one was peculiar because
sorry, that was what I was saying. Just because they bounced back. You're gonna have bad moments. You're gonna have games that don't go well. You're gonna have periods that don't go well. And it was the Avs' ability to say, "Yep, that sucked. Turn the page. It's a new day, new period, new hour, whatever." And that to me was the difference between this team and teams in the past. They didn't have that ability against Vegas to just say, brush it off. We'll get the next one.
Yeah. I mean, win or lose, they had the same mindset. And that's what was fascinating. They didn't dwell on anything. That 7-0 game, that was the one where Vasilevsky, everybody's like, is he not going to get pulled? Are you not pulling him?
Right.
And if you remember, John Cooper after was like, even if I tried to pull him, he would have probably said no, which I loved hearing that. I guess a side little tidbit. And then the next day he misses practice or morning skate. I forget which one he missed. So everybody's starting to think, is Vasilevsky done? He comes back and rebounds. Again, the mindset of a champion. Just rebound no matter what happens the night prior, win or loss, you got another one to go. Mm-hmm. And until you're done, you're not done.
Right. And yeah, it was one of those things I did laugh because I saw some people, they're like, and even a couple of the folks that we were out there in Tampa with, media folks, like, what do you guys think? Do you think they're going to bench? It's like, you're going to start Brian Elliott.
Yeah.
Like,
and not to mention, don't forget, round 1, the Avalanche beat, what was it, Carter Hutton? No.
Yeah.
Who was the third stringer?
Connor Ingram.
Second series, I mean, I think Ville Husso is a pretty legit backup, but still having to beat the backup, right? And then Mike Smith, who, have your opinion about Mike Smith, but they never were really too challenged from the goaltending aspect. So if Brian Elliott was going to be the fourth goalie they beat, then that would have been hilarious.
Then you maybe would have had a leg to stand on there and be like, all right, they didn't have to beat that tough of goaltenders. I'm going to do these reads, but after that, I want to ask you about the goaltending situation. Then we can move on to off season and start touching on some stuff for the summer. But I want to ask you about the Jordan Binnington stuff, just from your unique netminder perspective. This is the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Got JJ Jerez in here pinch hitting today, driving the bus for us. Brought to you guys by DraftKings. Also brought to you guys by our great friends over at Breckenridge Brewery. This is the summer of Breckenridge Brewery, especially now with all of their seltzers. We've got them loaded up actually downstairs. Breck Brew has a beer for any occasion, and there's no better way to watch a game than having some Breck Brew. Breck Brew has been doing it for over 30 years, and it all comes down to their love and passion for making beers. Try out the Good Company hard seltzers and lemonade seltzers. I like the lemonade ones. Just get a little bit more zing in there. Obviously, you have the Avalanche Amber Ale, which I'm pretty sure is like 80% of what Rudo's blood is at this point after this season. The Juice Drop IPA, Summer Pills Shandy. One of my favorites is Strawberry Sky. Hannah loves it. And like, seriously, that's just what we're going to be doing all summer. JJ just got to our house, got a new house here. We got a nice little outdoor patio area. We'll be crushing Breck brews until training camp starts. Hannah's all mad at me. She's like, what do you do now until the hockey season starts? I'm like, this.
I spent so much time eating out and eating French fries that I'm ready for a diet and get back on an exercise regimen. Sorry, go ahead.
So the seltzers, right, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm looking for seltzers.
But yeah, so good. Use the Breck Brew locator to find your closest liquor store that carries all of your favorite Breck Brew. Also head down to the farmhouse. I know we have a couple of events maybe planned in partnership with Breck Brew this summer. I don't know all the fine details, so I'm not going to say too much, but keep an eye out for that. We are going to be doing some fun stuff with Breckenridge Brewery as the DNVR bar gets its remodel. Cannot wait for DNVR 2.0. But in the meantime, we are going to be doing some good stuff with our great friends over at Breckenridge Brewery. So stay tuned for all of that. Also brought to you guys by my great friends over at Green Mountain Dental. If anyone from Green Mountain is listening, I apologize for having to cancel those two appointments. One of them, I wasn't expecting to have to go back to St. Louis. And then the other one, I took a red eye in the night before. So now that the Avs have won the cup and the season is done, I'm coming back to get that follow-up cleaning. And I have a cavity I need to get filled. But you guys, seriously, even just me saying that, I've spent my entire life looking for any excuse to not go to the dentist. The fact that I am prepared to go back to the dentist should tell you guys how amazing the folks are over at Green Mountain Dental. Seriously, they are awesome. We've had several DNVR listeners switch over to Green Mountain and reach out to us and tell us how great they've been. Literally, they will all talk. They're all huge Colorado sports fans. It's actually funny. I'm sitting there giving a cavity filled, and they're all talking to me about the Avs and asking questions. And yeah. I'm like, oh, hold on. All right, rinse. All right, now, yeah. And like literally, they chat with you. They talk to you about sports, and they get you in and out quickly. I went and got a cavity filled. They gave me the shot to numb it. Doctor comes in. I'm in and out of there 15, 20 minutes. Numbing wore off within an hour. I was eating regular food that night. They are awesome. I could not recommend them more. They're not close to me. I am willing to make the 25, 30-minute drive to go see them down at Green Mountain Dental down in Lakewood. Schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam. You'll receive a free Sonicare toothbrush. Make sure you tweet at us when you go. Tag us when you're there. Show them how this community can support our biggest supporters. Green Mountain Dental treats you like family. They send you birthday cards, all that good stuff. They have been a longtime DNVR partner. They show us the love. So go show them the love this summer. Go get your teeth cleaned. And again, if you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam at Green Mountain Dental, they will give you a free Sonicare toothbrush just for heading down to Green Mountain Dental.
What a gift.
That's no joke. Like the older you get, it's like, oh, toothbrush. That's legit.
I have a Sonicare, and it changed my life.
Yeah. So yeah, go on down and see them the same way that I am going to here very, very shortly and get caught up on all my cleanings. JJ, what do you think? Should we? You
said there was goaltending.
Oh my God. Talk. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. See, when you don't get your teeth clean, when you cancel teeth cleanings, you lose brain cells. Blues fans are positive, 100% sure that if Jordan Binnington plays that series, they beat the Avs in there, and they're the ones on a week-long Stanley Cup bender right now. Does Jordan Binnington move the needle for you that much? Could he have improved that much on what Ville Husso did, who I thought was good?
I think the easy answer is no, right? If Vasilevsky is the one saying that this team is too much, then how is Jordan Binnington going to hold these guys off? Now, this might not be the popular take, but I actually like Jordan Binnington as a player. I love the fire he plays with. It's reminiscent to me of Bo Byram. That's why I love Bo Byram, because he's not just a player out there. He's got the attitude to go with it. That are we allowed to cuss?
Yeah, I said fuck a minute ago.
Yeah, that fuck you attitude. I mean, that's what I love about both of those guys. Jordan Binnington, he's butt heads with the Avalanche, so Avalanche fans might hate the fact that I'm saying that. But I think as a goaltender, he has potential, but what we've seen from him the last 2 years is that potential kind of go down the drain. Yeah. It almost like that attitude gets to him so much that he thinks he's fantastic. Yeah. He thinks he's great. There's nobody better than him. He needs to have that get back to work mentality. Yeah. And he can be a really good goaltender. But yeah, to answer your question, there's no chance. I even think at that point, Ville Husso was probably the better goaltender anyway. I agree. They felt forced to play Binnington. They got to play Husso. So yeah, I don't think there's any chance that it could have been Vasilevsky in goal for the Blues, and I still think it would have been the same result.
I agree. And I like what you said there, because I'm trying to think of – this isn't really the exact equivalent, but I remember Sidney Crosby did an interview a couple of years ago. I think it was part of like the media tour before the season starts, right? He did an interview with TSN or Sportsnet or something like that, and he said, looking back on – the early years of my career, and like they went well, and things were great and whatever he said, but I looking back on it now, I actually wish I would have focused on the refs less and the complaining and worrying about that stuff. I wish I would have taken that out of my game sooner. And he, again, I don't remember the exact quote, but he kind of alluded to like, man, imagine how much better it could have been had I just stayed focused. I agree with you on Binnington. The dude's no one will argue. He has the tools, the ability, right? And I do think, like, you see the instances last year and stuff like that, where he's going after like the entire San Jose Sharks roster and swinging his stick and fake blocker punching guys. And it's just like, dude, if you weren't such a head case at times, how much further could your game go? I'm with you. I almost wish he would take that out of his game so that you could just appreciate the player, because he makes himself unlikable.
Yeah, I agree. He pushes the envelope a little bit too much. Again, I like the attitude. Does he take it overboard often? Yes, 100%. If he could just tone that down a bit, I think you'd have a really...
So here's the comparable. Nazem Kadri.
100%.
And you see this year, Nazem Kadri, you got to give huge credit to him. Got his head screwed on straight this year.
I would say the only person that didn't seem to have their head screwed on straight was Gabe Landeskog, right? He was a completely different player this year. He signs his offseason deal and he comes out like, I'm going to fight any and everybody. But hey, it worked. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, worked out. Well, and like, you see Naz finally say, I'm not getting into this stuff. I'm not getting in the middle of it. I'm going to cooler heads will prevail. And he has his best year ever. And to your point, maybe even took it to another level in the playoffs.
He visibly was trying to walk away from things.
Yeah.
Visibly trying to not get into any of the shit.
And I don't think anyone can say that it didn't make a difference. Now you've earned that reputation. You have to fight through it to prove people wrong. But I thought Kadri did. And, maybe we'll see Binnington in 3-4 years figure that part of it out where, I can't worry about that stuff. But until then, I think he'll kind of continue to be what you said, like go through the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows.
I think there's something with goaltending about having to prove yourself too, right? I mean, the first couple of years with St. Louis, he was still the new guy in town. He was still like, hey, my future's uncertain. I need to earn this. And he played a really good style of goaltending. You saw it here with Colorado. Darcy Kemper was having a pretty mediocre season until Pavel Francouz was healthy and back in the lineup. Then suddenly you saw a different game out of Darcy Kemper. I don't think it was, I guess negatively charged, right? He wasn't like, oh shit,
right.
Here comes Pavel Francouz to take my job. No, it's like, okay, this is a level that I need to beat if I want to keep this number one job. So let's keep pushing each other. I mean, you saw the friendship out of the two guys all year long. So there's something about that I have something to prove mindset from a goaltender that is imperative. You have to have that, because when you're comfortable and you're like, well, I'm going to be here for the next 6 years, whatever, I think it turns you into a different player.
I agree. Yeah. You want to do some summer talk?
Yeah, sure. I got the list here pulled up. We could start with the forwards if you want. You want to stick to UFAs or do RFAs as well?
Yeah, I guess yes. We can dip our toe in on everybody. I'm sure we've got. I guess we don't really have that long until free agency. So I'm sure these conversations will come up on our show, on your show, a bunch. But let's dip our toe into everybody a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we could rapid fire through it, not necessarily go in depth on each guy. But I guess let's go. Cat Friendly has us in alphabetical order. Is that the case here? Or, I don't know. Obe Kubel's first. Obviously a waiver wire acquisition mid-season. I don't think anybody anticipated him having as big of a role as he had. Usually when the Avs bring in a waiver acquisition, he's in and out of the lineup. You saw Obe Kubel stick for a really long time. Of course, come playoff time, they had to make some decisions, and he sat a little bit. But Obe Kubel, what an amazing acquisition, I would say. Yeah. And I'd like to see him stick around. Me
too. For a guy that cost you nothing, he cost you nothing. Just the money. And yeah, for you to get him for nothing, I thought he was a good fit. He was another guy that I don't know if he fits. I mean, Philly, miserable year, said take him off our hands for nothing, and he was a great fit here. I think if you're the Avs and you say, hey, do you want to run it back at the exact same contract? Maybe we'll give you $10,000 more as a thank you. I don't know why, if you're Abe Kubel, you turn that down. I think it's a great fit. I think he'd be a fun depth kind of fringe piece to have around.
Yeah, maybe give him a little more just in case he gets charged for the dent in the Stanley Cup. But yeah, I mean, he's a great depth piece. He got better when he got here, right? Typical Jared Bednar fashion. He made him work harder. He made him improve the small details of his game. Again, just that something to prove mentality is huge for hockey players, because once you get complacent, you're going nowhere.
I mean, look, he had $1 million cap hit, essentially. If you want to run Abe-Kubel back at $1 million for a year, 2 years, I don't think there's anybody that's going to scoff at that, because especially now, not that it's the end all be all, like we were saying earlier, now he's been on the run. He's seen it. He's seen it up close. He gets it.
Exactly. He could have a bigger role moving forward. It's tough because obviously you win a championship, and my mindset is like, bring them all back. Let's run it. But it's easier said than done, which brings us to Arturi Lehkonen, right? I think Lehkonen raised some eyebrows during the playoffs around the league. I think he'd already been seen, but what he was able to contribute to the Avalanche and the goals that we alluded to earlier in the show, I mean, again, I'd love to keep him. Is it possible? Yeah, but I think it almost has to be one of Joe's priorities because of the minor contributions. You just got to be careful not to overpay for a guy. Yeah. That's what made him so valuable, was the price you were getting him at, combined with the way he was contributing.
Yeah. Now he is RFA, so they do have a little bit of control. I haven't seen it. I don't put a ton of stock into this because, and again, this isn't necessarily like a bad thing or a shot, but like as we lead up to, it's usually July 1st, whatever it is now, July 13th
this year.
A lot of the national Canadian media will float a lot of offer sheet stuff. Look, they have 2 weeks of time to fill here on a 24-hour news cycle. Those conversations have to come up. Frank Saravelli said that there are a lot of teams that are looking at this guy as a potential offer sheet. I don't really buy it yet. Offer sheets are still pretty rare, even with what we saw from Kotkaniemi. But keep an eye on it. I think this guy clicks really well with this group. I think he makes a lot of sense here. I'm with you, though. You got to look at the model that Tampa has laid out. They've gotten guys to stay for a little bit less because they like the fit and they want to win. Lehkonen, to me, is one of those guys. Hey, you like the fit and you want to win? Cool. We need you to take not a big haircut, but you need to meet us halfway a little bit here so that we can keep this group together.
And the versatility, right? I mean, the guy stepped in and played the third line, played second line, played first line, played wherever you needed him to, and shine in that role. So,
yeah,
you got to be careful not to, I guess, undershoot it, right? Make sure you
don't insult him.
Don't lowball him here, because he brought a lot of value. I mean, that's hard to find, a guy that can fit in with Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and then everybody else 1 through 9.
Yeah. And him and Nate seem to get along well.
Oh, and him and Mikko Rantanen. Oh, I've been meaning to talk about this also. Arturi Lehkonen wins the award for greasiest party animal at the parade, drinking out of his shoe. Dude. He drank out of his shoe. He pulled his van off of his foot, poured a beer in it, and drank it, and probably put that van right back on his foot.
I did see someone tweet that he did have the shoe back on.
Ridiculous,
dude.
Animal. And just obviously him and Mikko Rantanen got to they were together like lamb and tuna fish. So
like lamb and tuna fish.
But you prefer spaghetti and meatball? Moving on, Andre Burakovsky. I think we can all agree here. Andre Burakovsky's gone.
Do you want to know where I think he goes?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Edmonton. Does that not seem like just the not picture perfect? It's just, that's such an Edmonton move. He played with McDavid and Jr. He was on McDavid's line, and I could totally see him like, oh, well, and I mean, unbelievable shot. So you're just going to sit there. He'll score 30 next to McDavid, and he'll just be McDavid's trigger man.
As long as he can stay consistently with McDavid, right? I mean, that's what we've seen throughout his tenure. You give him a shot with Nathan MacKinnon, he has a great game, and then he disappears for 2 or 3.
Yep.
And then you have to slide him back down the lineup. And I think there's something to be said for when Washington wins the Stanley Cup and doesn't re-sign him. Mm-hmm. And then the Avalanche win the Stanley Cup, don't re-sign him. Yeah. I think it's clear the type of player he is. He helps you get there, but he wasn't a key piece to why you were there. Right. And I mean, we saw the team win without him. There's no bigger insult if you're Andre Burakovsky than it's got to be so bittersweet. Like, yes, we won the cup, but they did it without me. They proved how I'm not that valuable.
Well, and like you give him a little bit of a break because he had the broken hand, broken ankle. So that's, he would have been in otherwise, but you are 100% right. He couldn't get in, and they still found a way. And they missed Nazem Kadri. They missed him in the games that they didn't have him.
Yep.
I want to make sure, because like I think Burakovsky's a good player. I think he has a top 5 shot, pure release, put everyone on the league just on the ice. And
I think of Nail Yakupov. You remember Yakupov's laser, and then he couldn't do anything in the game.
Nail Yakupov's the ultimate all tools, no toolbox. But that to me is Burakovsky. Like, he's got that shot, but it just didn't feel like they missed him in games. What was it? 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Essentially all of game 4, 5 and 6. It just didn't feel like, that's where you need Burakovsky. It just never felt like you got there.
Yeah. I mean, all because of what we broke down, right? I mean, there's definitely better defensive players. So from a defensive standpoint, you weren't missing him at all. And then you had the guys to fill the roles offensively. So I think from an offensive standpoint, they got it done without him. I mean, again, it's not like his production was so great where he was going to give you a point per game.
Right.
So yeah, he's easily not missed.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think Newhook is already kind of the new Burakovsky.
Newhook has it. I've been saying it all year. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
And that it is the ability to score.
Yeah.
The ability to put the puck behind the net. Behind the goalie
in the net, whatever.
Right. And he knows how to do it, and he knows how to do it in big moments, and he knows how to do it from dangerous areas. He's good at finding those quiet areas. I would have liked to see him have a better showing in the playoffs, but hey, it was his first go.
Yeah.
I love Alex Newhook, and I think that guy's future is very bright.
Yeah, but I think that's your easy plug and play.
Yep.
You replace Burakovsky with him.
Right. So that brings us to Andrew Cogliano. I kind of touched on it earlier in the show, so probably don't have to get too crazy.
This is another one for me, like Abe Kubel. Hey, if you're willing to essentially run it back at, I don't even know what Cogliano is. I think it's a mill right around there. If you're willing to run it back, we'd love to have you in the depth. If he's looking for a big raise, to me, that's one of those ones where it's not that Andrew Cogliano wasn't great. I think everything we said about him is true, but like you can just go reacquire him at the deadline. You know what I mean? Like if he wants to or a significant raise over what he's currently on.
Plus, you got to assume there's somebody in the Eagles waiting to do that same role, probably for cheaper. Right. I mean, you already got a guy like Logan O'Connor. You've got some pretty solid guys that play that same role, just waiting for them to kind of come into their own. And Cogliano's kind of the stopgap between. Does he fit in with the team next year? Sure.
Yeah.
Is he a necessity? I mean, if you got to cut somebody, you got to save a mil here or there. I think he's a good option.
So he's $1 million. To me, I would sit there and say, if he's not retiring, if he wants to come back for another year, then I would just sit there and I'd say, cool. Do you want $1 million? Do you want $1 million for a year? Come back and be a 4th line winger again on a team that you just won a cup with?
I don't know if you give everything he gave. I mean, if you saw those post Stanley Cup pictures and one of his fingers was still bloody from the surgery, like you could still see the blood and the bruises. I don't know. It kind of seems like that was this is my last hurrah effort.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
No,
could just be the player he is.
How old is he?
I think he's 35. But yeah, shout out to his wife, who was hands down the
35.
Nicest wife to me. 35. I
nailed it.
Nicest wife out of all the wives, at least to me. Ali Cogliano.
Yeah.
Good lady.
I don't remember where we were, but yeah, there was this really nice lady you had like a nice little chat with. I was like, oh, who's that? You're like, oh, that was Cogliano's wife. I was like, oh, damn. Would have never guessed that, given how pleasant she was.
Yeah, very friendly, very friendly.
The 4th line there, and is Darren Helm on this list?
He's next.
So that's what I was going to say. For me, man, given the way that they played in the playoffs, you've already got LOC locked up. I think you just go back to Cogliano and Helm and like, hey, if you guys want to run that 4th line back, we'll give you what you had. If not, we're fine piecing it together through free agency and trades and Eagles and stuff like that. But I think you give those guys the option to just run it back because that 4th line was unbelievable for you in the postseason.
Yeah, and you saw Gabe Landeskog last night running around with a Darren Helm t-shirt, right, which is hilarious. But that kind of shows you right there what they thought of him. You go back to Jared Bednar's comments early in the playoffs, and he said, of all the players, Darren Helm seems to be raising his game to another level more than anybody else.
Yeah.
So I think you need to take that with a grain of salt, right? Because what do you get in regular season Darren Helm versus what do you get in playoff season Darren Helm? You got to probably strike a balance in in price, right? Because Darren Helm's going to say, look what I did for you in the playoffs. They're going to say, look what you did in the regular season. So yeah, I could see him coming back because he was a big piece, crushed the penalty kill. I mean,
huge,
that was his penalty kill all year long. And it's a matter of if he wants to go, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think he does. His family, from talking to them, they love it in Denver. I met the wife at the elevator one day at
Darren Helm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was saying, oh, we don't want to go back to Detroit. We don't want to go back to Detroit.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I could see him sticking around for sure.
Yeah.
Next guy we got is Big Nazem Kadri. Of course, we've heard the reports that he wants to stay.
Yeah.
But he also wants to get paid. I mean, you hear that and it sounds like it's going to be tough because there will be higher offers. There's going to be. And when you talk about the difference between what the Avalanche can maybe offer him 6'5", you think? And you're hearing rumors of maybe the Rangers or, Philly. I don't think he wants to go play with Torts, but throwing 8 at him.
Right.
To us, it's like, well, 8, 6'5", come on, that's not that big. Well, we're talking $1 million, $1.5 million. I mean, that's huge.
Over how many years?
And term is what's going to be monstrous, right? I don't know if the Avalanche want to give him that much term.
So here's what I've been told from the different folks that I've talked to. I've gotten kind of a couple different iterations of this. Naz wants to stay. If all things are equal, this is where they would pick.
Right.
They want to be here. He loves the fan base. I think, he's talked about it a lot. And again, no one has actually told me this outright, but I get the sense that him and his family feel a little bit like the Toronto fan base turned on him there at the end. After the last suspension, it kind of turned and became this, well, you can't win with this guy. You can't rely on this guy.
The front office too, right? I mean, they tried to trade him once. He vetoes it, and they're like, all right, well, we'll trade you again.
Yeah, right. And I think he never felt that here. Even after the suspension last year, he always felt embraced and loved by the fan base. And then all this stuff happens this year with St. Louis, and it's, 10 times the support. Kicked up everyone at warm-ups wearing Naz stuff, holding the Nazem Kadri signs, all that stuff. I think he'd like to stay. What I was originally told was that where someone said they saw the wiggle room was if the Avs went term. Hey, we'll get you the term that people aren't going to give you. We're not going to be able to give you as much AAV, but we'll give you the term, and that was maybe like the back road for it. But now, like you said, we see the reports coming out today. And again, these are just unconfirmed reports. We don't know this for sure.
Just rumors.
Right. But if the New York Rangers are offering you $8 million over 7 years, the Avs can't really get into that ballpark. And the term 7, I don't know how much you want to go in 8th year, but that's where the Avs leg up would have been. If someone else is willing to give that term, and it's a team like the Rangers, it's a city like New York, it's close to Ontario where he's from, that's going to be tough to compete with, especially now that he's got a ring. To me, like I sit there, the term doesn't scare me as much because again, you look at Tampa and there's part of me that says like, give him the term and deal with it in 5 years. Give him the term, win another cup and deal with it in 5 years and nobody really cares. But again, if someone else is willing to get into that term battle with you, you're going to be in a hard spot, and he's got a ring now.
That's the thing, is he accomplished what he wanted to do his whole life, right? I'm sure out of an NHLer, in his mind, he's like, yeah, I want to make it back. That'd be great. But I got one.
Right.
So that no longer needs to be my priority. My priority now is getting paid. And I see everybody in the chats agreeing. They want him to go chase that money. So it'd be hard if you're Nazem Kadri to pass up an extra 1.5 to 1 million a year, especially if it's over 7-8 years. As much as I'd like to see him stay, I don't see it realistically being the case, but that also frees up a little bit of money to go chase somebody else. And there's some good options out there.
And I think it'll be a good breakup. If he does decide to go, if he gets the big, bag of money somewhere else, I think it'll be one of those huge applause when he comes back for the first time. Probably a little bit emotional for him. I don't think it'll be this like, the way that Paul Stastny was like, I'm staying. Oh, I didn't think someone would give me that much money. Like, bye. I think everyone understands.
Yeah. Yeah, and I forgot my last point about him.
Sorry.
It was something good. It's all right.
I'm sure it was.
Whatever.
It'll come back to you halfway through a sentence, and please
Or on my drive home.
cut me off. Yeah.
Next guy, Val Nichushkin. I think this is a guy we all anticipate staying because it was here that he really blossomed, right? And it was under Jared Bednar that really allowed him to grow his career. Everybody's saying he's going to be hammering for the money. I don't know if he necessarily is because you don't want to mess up. Oh, I remember what I was going to say about Nas.
Yes.
You don't want to mess up a good thing with Val. And I'm also curious. I've never broken my foot, especially not like that.
Yeah.
How quickly is he going to be ready? And who is he going to be once he's back? Because now he's got the cup under his belt. He's going to be coming back from a pretty significant injury. I mean, that was a bad break.
It's brutal.
Who knows what kind of Val Nichushkin you're going to be. Plus, he's going to get a fresh new deal, right? So he resets everything and might just have a completely different mindset. So I think you got to be careful overpaying a guy like Val. I think there will be some strong offers around the league, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's willing to leave Denver. I mean, I'm sure there's a number that he's like, okay, $2 million more over here, I'm out. But
it'd be silly not to. So here's the other thing I was told, and we talked about it actually. We touched on it ever so briefly yesterday on the show. Here's what I was told, and then Elliot Friedman repeated this on 32 Thoughts Monday. My understanding is that they have met and they're in the ballpark. They're not close, they're not, but that both teams like, okay, there's confidence that they can make something work. And the big driving factor behind it is Val Nichushkin, maybe more than anyone else in the league, has a perspective on what it's like to be in an organization where it doesn't work, where the fit just isn't there, whether it be with the coach, the team, the role you're in, the fit the organization sees you, filling. He's been in a situation where it hasn't been a good fit, and he's in such a picture perfect fit that it sounds like he and his agent are motivated to get something done here because the fit is just too good. He fits into this system under these coaches.
He could easily go to another team and not fit. And suddenly he's back to a third, fourth liner scoring 0 goals a season.
Right.
So yeah, I'm 100% with that. What I was going to say about Kadri is the rumor floating around Tampa Bay when we were down there with all the national pundits is that Detroit is going to be the front runner for
really?
Kadri, which
okay.
I think is interesting.
Yeah.
Could fit there, but who knows? It's just throwing shit at the wall at this point.
Them and Anaheim are the ones to me that I keep coming back to. And it's just because Anaheim had a surprisingly good season. They missed the playoffs, but they kind of took a bigger step than I think people thought. With Getzlaf retiring, there's a hole there at center. And I think they're sitting there like, man, we can strap this guy next to Zegras or Troy Terry or something like that. And I could see them making that swing for a guy like Kadri. And hey, come right into the sunset in Southern California and,
I'd sign up.
Play with all these ultra skilled guys, whatever.
Only place I'd rather go is maybe Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Tampa's pretty nice too.
Well, dude, there's some of these guys, and I know we're pushing hour 20 here, so appreciate you guys sticking with us and watching and listening on a longer one.
That flew by.
But like we were joking about it. Some of the cities that we went to for the playoffs, bro, if I'm a free agent and I get an offer from Edmonton, and then I get a very similar offer from Tampa, I cannot figure out a universe where I'm not picking Tampa.
It reminds me of the MLS, right? The MLS is sitting here trying to recruit retired European all-stars.
Yeah.
But if you're a European and you think of the United States, Denver doesn't come into your mind. St. Louis doesn't come into your mind. What comes to your mind? New York City, Miami, LA. And so those are the teams that are getting all the, and it's the same. It seems like nowadays too, free agents in the NHL have a lot more say in where they're going. And yeah, if it's Florida versus anywhere else, I think most people take Florida, and because it's no secret the tax thing too, right?
Yep. And you used to think about Artemi Panarin. That was his kind of thing. He's like, no, I'm going to a big market. Like I was in Chicago. It was great. Columbus is fine, but I'm going to New York. And we all actually thought he was going to end up with the Panthers there for a minute, in Miami and all that shit. And it's a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, look what Artemi Panarin turned down. Remember, Nathan McKinnon was telling him, "You can have my spot on the power play, please come." And he's like, "Nah, I'm going to New York." So yeah, I get it. Yeah, just the way it is. Let's get to our last forward of the free agent group, Nico Sturm.
Yeah.
Again, as much as you want to bring all the boys back, he's definitely an expendable guy.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about his depth. We talked about him being in and out of the lineup and not much contribution. He, again, strikes me as another guy that can be replaced with a Colorado Eagle.
Yeah. I mean, you like what he did. I thought he brought something that was a little bit different than what Jost did, but not to take anything away from those two guys, but like you can find all kinds of guys that do that.
Yeah. See you later.
Yeah.
German speaker too. How crazy was that? I had no idea when he starts with
yeah.
Getting to the defensive group, Jack Johnson. We kind of touched on that. He's probably retiring. One last hurrah. What a miracle too, right? Seriously. He had a Hail Mary coming in on a PTO. Nobody had any idea if he was even going to make the team. Some people said he wouldn't. I might be one of those people. Yeah. But no, he stuck around, scores that amazing goal in game 1. And that's the last goal of his career, probably. Like to walk off in the sunset the way he did. And just the history that he had to go through during his career. That's just the perfect ending for what was otherwise a bumpy career.
Yeah. No, it was great. And you feel for him, the person. I wish people actually would have gotten to see a little bit more of Jack Johnson this year. Great speaker, always had plenty to say.
A low-key locker room guy, right?
Yeah.
Was probably very vocal in there and had a big role. But, there's only one JJ of the year. So get all the other JJs out. Yeah. JJ's out of here.
You can't have it. Sorry.
From Johansson to Johnson. Josh Manson. I think this one, as much as it pains me to say, I don't think he's sticking around.
We both gave the sharp exhale at the same time. So I should tell everyone like how we feel. Like, God, I'd love for this guy to stay, but
yeah, he did well on the ice. I wouldn't say he was amazing or spectacular. Definitely replaceable. But I think what we loved most about him was his personality, right?
Yeah, dude, he was.
It's hard to say goodbye to a guy like that. Who's so fun to talk to, obviously enjoying his time with the Avs, enjoying life, just playing in the NHL, and just has a good head on his shoulders. So I think we kind of let that cloud the decision a little bit.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think, he might be replaceable and can easily find big guys.
Well, and here's a tough part about it. When you're talking about potentially paying Josh Manson, he's going to start the season next year as a third pairing guy. It's going to be Makar, Taves, Bo, Gerard, and then you're looking, does EJ retire? We don't know. Does Josh Manson come back? Because if both those things happen, that's your third pair. One, does Josh Manson want to be on a third pair? Two, do you want to pay UFA money to a guy like Josh Manson to be on your third pair? And yeah, he can flex up the lineup. That's part of the appeal, but.
And not to get off track, but that's where I'm kind of worried about Bowen Byram's tenure here in Colorado. I don't know if he wants to spend his entire career on the second power play, playing second fiddle to Cale Makar, when there are teams out there that'll put him as the first defenseman and be on the PP1. Yeah. So that's just something to look out for down the line here.
I could definitely see it. I think a lot of it depends on, to be honest, dude, a lot of the conversations that I've heard, not necessarily recently or even this year, but that the Avs' ultimate goal, everything going perfectly, is Bo and Cale. Bo and Cale is the top pair of the future. We saw them run the two defensemen on the power play a little bit this year. On
PP2 especially. Yeah.
Right. So, do they maybe modify that? Hey, we want Bo more involved because we know that this kid could go, be the star on another team. So how can we make it so that we get the best of both worlds here? I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Then you're taking either a spot from McKinnon on the wing, right? Or Rantanen, because that's where they keep.
Isn't this a dope problem to have?
yeah. Until you don't have it anymore.
Right. Yeah. You're 100% right. Yeah.
And, sitting there watching the parade, and I was watching it on TV. I didn't go, and seeing the guys be like, "Oh, how about Kale McCarr, he's amazing. Gabe Landeskog's the greatest. Nathan McKinnon and Bowen Byram just sitting there in the shot,
twirling his hair.
Is anybody gonna say my name? I had an impact here.
And
then the mother effing cop that didn't recognize him on the team, he might have just blown it for all of us.
Like hassled him too.
Yeah.
Like,
and very politely, as a cop would, right? So yeah, I don't see Bowen Byram playing his whole career here, and that sucks to say.
Right.
Last defenseman we haven't touched on is Ryan Murray. We didn't get to see him much this year, but unrestricted could get him on the cheap.
Yeah,
I'm not sure the tape is out there on him that people are gonna highly be coveting him.
Yeah. So this is another guy where, to be honest, if they came out tomorrow, like, because what is he on? He's on like a $925 deal or something like that. I'll look it up. It's very little.
While you're looking it up, shout out to Ben Swain for the funny joke on the Jack Johnson banana pancakes and riding off into the sunset. That made me chuckle.
Wait, what banana pancakes?
Like the singer Jack Johnson?
Oh!
You forget about the singer.
Okay,
yeah. Involved in hockey.
I know. I was like, wait, what is he like? Really like banana pancakes or something? I mean, I'll put it that I wouldn't bring Ryan Murray back at $2 million a year. That's what he's on right now.
Wow.
I wouldn't do that.
No, that's hefty.
Yeah. No.
I mean, we can't even really say what he brought to the table because he literally didn't bring much at all.
Well, what sucks is that when he started playing well, right near the end of the season, the injuries kicked in, which was always the thing with him, was, are the injuries going to get in the way? And they did. So it's like, I wouldn't bring him back for 2. I'd maybe bring him back for $1 million, 1.2. Hey, come back, be part of it, be a 6th, 7th D when we need you. You were part of the group. Everyone likes you. You got your name on the cup. Come try for one more if we need you. But other than that,
I have nothing to add. I think that's spot on.
Darcy
Kemper. He's the last guy we got to talk about.
I'm gonna default to you on this one.
Well, I'm a big proponent of not fixing what's not broken, right? And it feels like he was adequate for you.
Yep.
Was he amazing? No. Did he get the job done? Obviously.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
yep.
he did well. I mean,
he battled too.
Allowing 1 goal against Tampa Bay in that final game. And credit to the guys in front of him. But obviously they like to play in front of him, right? Yeah. Allowing only 4 shots in that third period, I think tells you everything you need to know about what this team's capable of defensively. So if the defense shuts them down like we saw them do all year, then you have a guy who can get the job done. And that's all you need at this point. You don't need a stellar goaltender with this group in front of you. Not to mention, I love the second goalie too, the backup goalie. Right. And just having that tandem gives me a lot of comfort because when Darcy Kemper slips or gets hurt or pokes his eye out, Pavel Francouz is there, and he's there. He's more than just there. He gives everybody confidence that, okay, this guy could easily be our number 1 goalie as well here. So,
they seem like they have a good relationship.
Exactly. So I think you don't want to mess with the tandem. I think the tandem is what's stronger than just simply Darcy Kemper. I like having that 1A, 1B guys. And I think you're set up perfectly with these two.
And I think, we talked a bunch on our show this year about Vegas and the way that they've handled some of their guys. And in the exact opposite light, I feel like the Avs did well by Darcy this postseason, saying like, hey, we brought you in to be our guy. We're going to let you be our guy. And they put the confidence behind him. They said, we're going back to you after the rough outing in Game 3. No question. And I loved Bednar's quote. He said, we believed in him. The team believed in him. I just had to make sure he believed in himself. And as soon as I knew he believed in himself, we were good. We were fine we knew we were going back to him. And I thought games, I thought 4, 5, and 6 were his best games of the playoffs. Played his best at the right time.
Yeah, I guess it's about how much he gets, right? A lot of people throwing in the chat about $6 million. That's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot for Darcy Kemper. Not to mention this year they had an entire, $1 million still held by Arizona. So
yes,
they got him on the cheap.
Yep.
Are they going to be able to get him on the cheap again? Who knows? But $6 million would be too much. I'm with you guys out there.
Yeah.
I like that. There you go. Ben Swain again. Ben Swain's on fire.
Dude, crushing
4 by 5. I like that.
I'm in. So we'll wrap this up as we're now officially at 90 minutes. But here's the one thing I will last thing I'll throw out there is kind of a teaser to off-season stuff. There's one name out there that I was told, and again, this is
rumor.
Right, light treading on this, but I was told by someone who I feel fairly confident in the stuff they tell me, that there is some mutual interest in a 1-year big money deal for Claude Giroux. That there's some interest with Giroux now again, there's 1,000 things that could change between now and the 13th, and this could never even get close to happening. But then I guess there's been a little bit of buzz out there that there's a couple names that the Avs are looking at saying, hey, look, we're going to sign McKinnon this year to his extension, but we still have 1 year of kind of play. And I was told that the Avs are maybe looking to take a 1-year big swing at a couple of these big names that are out there. So just keep an eye. Claude Giroux was the one that was floated to me.
All right, for my banger, as we head out of here, I'm with Kevin Wong. I think my hot take of the offseason is Philip Forsberg. I think there's always been smoke around that name in the Avalanche. I think they were kind of close on him on the trade deadline. This is just my speculation based off, things I've heard, things I've seen. And not to mention that when he first got started, there's connections there with the Avalanche. Right. I think the Avalanche are eyeing Philip Forsberg really hard. I think they're going to go after him, especially if they get some room on the cap. So that's my hot take.
Love it.
Kind of just something I put together myself.
Yeah,
didn't hear a rumor from anybody. Didn't hear any hot takes.
Just putting the pieces together that are out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, did I get it? Dude, I know this went a long time, but I really appreciate you driving down here and hanging out and putting this show on with you.
No, it was a blast. It didn't feel like a show at all. It just felt like me and you talking just like we did all week in Tampa Bay. So yeah, I'd love to do it as much as you want to have me. And I can't believe it. An hour and a half went by so quick.
Yeah, no, dude, we will have you. I'll have you back over here a bunch, and we'll get into those Breck brews. We'll just seltzers only, seltzer and salad. It's the summer of seltzer and salad.
Right after we go on a nice exercise, right?
Yeah,
Burn all these French fries off.
This is DNVR Avalanche podcast. He's JJ. I'm Jesse. Thank you guys all so much for listening. We'll talk to you guys on Tuesday. No show Monday for 4th of July. Have a great long holiday weekend.
USA.
Talk to you guys next week.